So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Executive Director of ABC Head Start Society and also a recipient of Edify Edmonton's Top 40 Under 40 for Edmonton Class of 2021. Hi, April. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm very well. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
No, thank you so much for joining me. I'm actually really excited to hear more about these amazing initiatives and also to congratulate you. That's a very exciting achievement.
Thank you. Thank you. It is.
So April, can we actually start about talking about ABC Head Start? So this is a registered charity in Edmonton. So could you tell me more about what services it provides, what the focus is, and what it all entails?
Absolutely. ABC Head Start Society is a grassroots organization that started in Edmonton in 1985. It was founded by a woman named Alita Patterson, who was a retired teacher and just saw that there was opportunity for better outcomes for children who were often starting school a little bit behind their peers. So Head Start as a model is actually very old and has been studied since the 1960s. It's been called one of the best ways to break the cycles of poverty for a family because we work with children in a classroom, but we're working with them in the context of their family and community. So we also have social workers on staff who support the families and the parents. We run workshops on positive parenting. We help families understand behavior and discipline and the way that children behave is a piece of communication. So we try to help everyone at ABC understand behavior as a function of communication, and that can really help parents sort of get past hurdles of understanding how to respond appropriately and how to help their children learn really productive ways to get their needs met. So in the long run, Head Start has been shown to have better educational outcomes for kids when they grow up, more likely to go to university, more likely to have higher earning potential later in life, and even intergenerational impacts where people are more likely to show positive parenting when they have their own kids if they attended Head Start when they were children. So we serve children before school, the ages 2.5 to 5, and our client base, or the children and families that we serve, each year around 75% of them report country of origin other than Canada. So we have huge diversity. Our families speak 46 different languages. They come from 64 different countries. We also, of course, serve the urban Indigenous population in Edmonton as well. We have 12 classrooms across the city. We operate out of several sites.
Amazing, April. That's actually very important. I mean, there's a lot of other communities that are coming into Edmonton, like you said. Even our radio station, we broadcast 17 different languages. So there's a lot of different communities that we serve to. And a lot of the adjustment that I see with a lot of the new immigrants coming over is the educational process. It is a learning curve. There's a lot of different needs children have. So as a parent, how is a parent able to recognize if their child could benefit from ABC Head Start?
So parents who are, see, this is so much easier if you've had more than one child. If you only have one child, then you don't really have a benchmark that you have personal experience with. A lot of people notice with their second child, oh, you know what? Maybe this child isn't speaking as early as my previous child did. Or maybe they're speaking, but I'm the only one who can understand them. Other people aren't able to put together the pronunciation of the words that they're using. So those could be early signifiers of either a receptive language delay or an expressive language delay. There's other things that you can look for as well. I find parents often, they just know. There's something that tells them that they need a program. I hear that from parents all the time. I just really need a program for this child. There's something going on and I don't know what it is. So often when parents come to us, they're in some sort of complex situation where maybe there's behaviors that they don't understand where they're coming from. Sometimes children might seem like they don't listen or they're misbehaving, but maybe they just don't understand the instructions. So those are maybe some of the things that parents might see that tell them that maybe a preschool program or a program like a Head Start program would be good for them so that their children can get a little bit more experience before they go to kindergarten.
Is it more conversational based where we're trying to get these kids more fluent in their conversations, or is it different activities? Like, is there mathematical or art activities? So how is it sort of formatted?
We operate on a play-based model, learning through play. And so our kids are coming at every level. We have conversation partners, so children who are able to have a conversation and they like to do that. We even have children who are more play partners. They're not using words yet. We use lots of visuals to communicate with them. We have a whole speech team that really helps our teachers and our early childhood educators work different modes of communication into the classroom. Alternative and augmentative communication, commonly known as AAC, is a big part of what we do at ABC. And our programs, because they're play-based, the children come in at the beginning of the day, they might have a snack. We feed all of our kids nutritious snacks through the day because having a full belly is a really important part of learning. And a lot of our families are coming from low-income situations, so that's an important piece. And then they'll do play-based stations. So those will focus on things like fine motor skills, learning how to grasp a crayon or a pencil. They might do an art activity to work on that. We'll have planning and organizing is an executive function skill when you break that down to an early learning level. Things like sorting tiles into different colors, sorting, letter magnets, stuff like that can really help build those early skills. And then, of course, early literacy is all about learning how to hold a book and turn the pages, holding it right side up. Sometimes that's how basic we're starting with some of these kiddos. And we'll have circle time where the teacher will do a calendar exercise. So that's like early numeracy. And they'll read stories and they'll do songs and dances. We go to the park to work on our gross motor skills, climbing. We have OT on staff, occupational therapy, to provide targeted supports and therapies to children who maybe that's their biggest challenge is an OT delay. So we have a variety of different services so that we can tailor the learning to the child's individual program plan based on their own goals for learning.
That's brilliant, and it sounds so interactive. And before the end of our conversation today, April, I'm going to get you to leave all the contact information of how one can get in touch with ABC and if you have any social media handles. But before that, I also want to talk about your parallel career. So simultaneous to this, you've been working in the Edmonton theater community as well and doing some amazing work with them. So I'm going to actually give you this opportunity to tell us more about that as well.
Thank you. So I've spent many years working in the theater community. And when I went back to school in 2018, I went into a master's program, an MA of Global Leadership. And I was doing that as a blended program. So a lot of it was online while I was working here at ABC. And at the end, I was challenged with this project. I needed to do a research project, and it had to be based in community development and something that would benefit a community. And I really decided, I want to work with my theater community because I'm seeing this intense lack of diversity in the theater program that I went through as a student, and in the casts that I'm a part of and the shows that we're producing, and what's going on there. I really didn't know. When I got into this project, I thought a lack of diversity was the issue. But what I really learned through my research project was that there's a whole host of things that are happening in these systems that are excluding or alienating people that have any kind of social difference. So I'm talking about disabilities, I'm talking about race and culture, anything that makes someone feel maybe othered or not necessarily tailored to in a system that is highly colonial and built in these, just these systems that I think with the rise of the George Floyd movement and the Me Too movement, a lot of these things have really come to the forefront and people are talking about them in a lot of different areas. And so having this conversation with theater companies was really interesting. I ended up being able to engage 36 companies that are part of something called the YEG Performing Arts Accessibility Ad Hoc Group. And this includes very high profile organizations. And I was so fortunate to have their ear. So I was able to include 17 performance training pathways in my project and over 130 artists. And the project was called Co-Creating Inclusive Pathways to Professional Theater, because what I really found was that it was breaking into the community that was the hardest for folks from historically oppressed groups. So it's not necessarily that there's just a lack of diversity. It's that programs really need to work on making their spaces safe and creating meaningful training opportunities that appeal to people with different backgrounds And then that diversity, I really believe, will follow from there. So yeah, it was a really transformative experience. I spent 2 years of my life working on it. It got published in February 2021, and it's online at transposethestage.ca. It's also hosted on Theatre Alberta's website as well.
That's amazing. Like you said, diversity and inclusion, no matter what kind of sector you're in, it's so important. And in theater and all these other organizations, I think there's a lot of work that we all still need to do to not just have that environment, but to make people feel very included and inclusive in those environments. And sometimes, yes, it is difficult to get people to openly join and to be willing to have these conversations, which is why initiatives such as the ones you're taking, April, are so important. And I do appreciate all the work you're doing for our community.
Thank you. You know, it has a special place in my heart too. I think I know what it's like to be alienated from a process and from a system, but I also know what it's like to feel intensely part of a group. And I think my work at ABC and my work in the theater community, really anywhere I go, that's what I want for people, is for people to enjoy the process and enjoy being there. And I love seeing stories that are told from a different perspective than my own. I just find it can really expand your mind to experience the world through someone else's eyes. And I want the theater that I get to see to really reflect the different ways that people experience life.
And April, with ABC Head Start, how can anyone get in touch with you that might have more questions or might be interested in this program?
Our website is abcheadstart.org. On Facebook and Instagram, we're at ABC Head Start. You can contact us anytime through the message function on any of those platforms and through our website as well.
Well, April, this has been amazing. I've really, really, truly enjoyed learning more about both of these organizations, but also being able to share this with so many other individuals that might benefit from this as well. And I'd like to congratulate you once again, and thank you so much for joining me on air today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Supreet. My pleasure.